Hello and welcome to a very special 7 Wishes vlog today. I'm Sabrina and today I'm going to be doing a Sabrina's how to make video. And what I thought I would do to celebrate autumn is to make a autumnal bracelet for you all to see. And of course you can use my creativity and use my techniques to make one of your own. So the first thing that I think of when I think of autumn is the nature. And when you think about a leaf that has changed into all these beautiful colours, you think of all the reds, the yellows, the greens, the browns, and every shade of those in between. You have the amber coloured orange and you have the bright orange. You have the almost burnt red colours, and then you have the bright, vibrant red colours. So what I wanted to do is make a bracelet, and I've decided to do one in a triple layer. Let me show you this one of mine. This is what we call a triple layer bracelet. As you can see, you have a single bead holding all 3 layers together, and then if I separate them you can see that there's gaps in between. This gives a lot of depth and 3-dimensional aspects to the bracelet, and it does look really beautiful. So we're going to make one just like that, using a variety of autumnal looking beads. I have some that are leaf shaped, I have some that are natural stone. This is hematite. I have beads that are made out of glass, and I have a variety of seed beads. They range from 1mm all the way to 4mm, and in a variety of colours as well. I will be using red, green, gold and brown to go in between the larger beads today. I first got into beading because of my nan, and this was about 20 years ago, and I've been collecting beads ever since. I used to visit a beautiful bead shop in Chester, and I used to go with my father 3 times a year. That was all that we managed to get up there until it closed. Sadly, I was quite devastated when it closed. But whenever I went, they had an enormous table. Now imagine the biggest dining table you can think of, and inside the dining table it was all carved out into deep square tubs of wood, and all these wooden tubs were filled with a different type of bead and a different colour, and then all the walls were lined with jars in every colour, shape and size that you can think of. And you used to go in and you used to say to the lady at the counter, "Can I have however many bags?" And she used to give you those little sealable plastic bags, and you used to go around and you used to count out however many you wanted. So 10 of this one, 5 of that one, 20 of that one, 100 of those. And you used to go and you could spend hours just going through all the beads. And I have a wooden chest in my house where all my plastic bead boxes live, and it's full, I won't lie. And I haven't really bought many the last few years. Occasionally I see some on Amazon and I think, wow, those are unique, they might be ethical or fair trade. I love to support that kind of thing, so I will order a unique style of bead if I see it. And then Dunelm and other homeware places, you can often find beads there too. So if there's any bargains to be had, that's generally where I have mine from. So what I've decided to do today is I've gone through all of those bead boxes and tubs, and I have dug out a variety of autumnal looking beads in all shapes and sizes. Like I said, some are leaf shaped, some are round, some are sort of 3-dimensional. They have aspects of shading or layers to them. And what I will do is, once we finish the bracelet, I will take some macro photographs of it as well, so that you'll be able to see it in a little bit more detail. But let's get on to the actual making of the bracelet. So the first thing you need to do is to buy some elastic if you haven't got some already, and you want quite good quality stuff. You can see that this is a couple of millimeters thick. It's really, really decent stuff, and I think that I got it from Hobbycraft. I'm pretty sure it was Hobbycraft the last time I was in there, and they do a variety of different ones. You can get different colours, you can get different lengths, different strengths, and this one is just an average one, but it's a little bit thicker, hopefully to take the weight of the beads that I've chosen. Now, in order to do a triple bracelet, you can do it one of two ways. You can cut 3 identical pieces and tie it at one end, and then put all your beads on and then tie it at the other end, but then you've somehow got to get it together without leaving loads of little bits sticking out, and it can be quite difficult. So what I suggest is you cut a piece of elastic first of all, and make sure that the whole length, when it's tripled, goes around your wrist like so, and leaves you with at least an inch so that you can manipulate it at the end. And by manipulate it, I mean you can thread it through into the other beads at the end when you've tied it, so that you're not left with all these little stringly bits hanging out, because nobody wants those, they're really irritating. And what you can do, like I say, is when you have the beads there, you can thread the little ends back through, so you won't see any of them. That's the best way to do it. But make sure that when you start off, you've got more than you need, because when we're doing the triple ones, like I showed you on this one earlier, a lot of them stick out, so you'll be able to have more than you need. So that's step number 1, cut your elastic. So the second step to making your bracelet is to use a crimp bead to ensure that all 3 of your sections of elastic stay together. So here are mine, all cut. And what we need to do is take the first one and thread a crimping bead. And for those of you who don't know what that is, I'm not even sure if you'll be able to see it. That tiny, tiny little silver bead can be squashed using pliers, and it holds everything in place. So what we want to do is thread it very, very gently onto our elastic, and hopefully you can see it there. But what we need to do is get all 3 of our elastic sections through this crimping bead, and then we'll be ready to start. So once you've got all 3 together, what you need to do, and I've done a double crimp just to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere, is to take your pliers and squash it into place. And there's no way that any of those elastic lines are going to come out of there now. And that will be the end of our bracelet, which we will then thread back through one of the larger beads. And you always need to make sure that you put a large whole bead at the end, so it will be something like this, and we will be able to thread that through after the other end has been threaded in. So now that we have our bracelet, we have to decide what we're starting with. Like I said, you should start with a larger bead that's easy to thread. So it would be something like this, with a fairly large hole. Or a seed bead like this that you're able to see through, so that you'll be able to thread your needle through if need be, and bring it out the other side. Large seed beads are always useful as well. And what you need to do is, if you're able to thread all 3 through, Let's just have a little look. It might only take two so far. Let's try the third one. Because you won't know until you begin threading what beads are going to fit and what aren't. I think I should be able to get the third one in. Yep. So you're able to see there that this bead, although it looks quite small, has quite a large hole through it, and that means that we'll be able to thread it. And in fact, it's really useful, and that will be one of what we call a stop section bead. So we'll be able to thread our larger ones on separate strings like that, and then say every 2 to 3 centimeters we will thread one of these, either in the red or the brown or the purple, and then that will be our bracelet. So once you've figured out that that is where your starting point is, you can learn to just build the bracelet up. I'm going to start it off, and then I will come back to the video once I've done a few more sections of it. It's pretty simple. Once you've got your design laid out, all you'll need to do is decide how much of the bracelet you're going to do as a single line and how much you're going to do as a triple section. The music that I'm playing is from the Destiny 2 soundtrack. I'm loving this game at the moment and the soundtrack is beautiful, so instead of talking the entire way through this video and boring you all to death, I thought I'd play a little bit of music for you while I do some of these lines. You may find that you pick out too many beads or not enough beads, so remember that you can always start again. If you get halfway through and you're not happy with it, that's the beauty of this sort of thing. You can just stop and start again. And of course it takes quite a bit of patience as well, but it is quite therapeutic, and it's always nice when you make something that's completely unique to you. So as you can see, I'm beginning to split it now. And I want to make sure that I incorporate all of the colours. One thing you have to look out for is the elastic will start to unravel, and you might need to just trim the end slightly if that's the case. So as you can see now, I've begun to split it. It'll all look better in a moment or two when I've managed to get more beads on. Looking at how many I've got here, I'm not sure if I've put out enough, but we'll see. The seed beads are always the hardest, most fiddliest. And the good thing with this as well is if you're working on a flat surface, if you do drop any beads like I just did, they're not going to go very far. And even though my cats are nowhere near me, I still end up having cat hairs everywhere. It's always difficult when you're making a bracelet to decide what to put on next, because until you see it as a huge ensemble, you can sometimes be unsure. And you also need your sections to match up in length. So what I need to do is make sure that I put some smaller beads on now, and then I'll be able to thread the next one. I will come back to this in a few moments' time when I've done some more. So I've been working on the bracelet now for around 15 minutes. As you can see, I've started my initial sections. I've now got 3 of them. The one I focused on quite large, mostly glass beads, and the other 2 I have incorporated 2 different coloured leaves. This section is mostly red and gold with hints of green, and then what I plan to do for the next section is to put a lot more green in there. What I will do is I will complete the next section, show you that, and then we'll do the third and final section together. So let's take a look at the bracelet now that I'm halfway. What I've done is incorporated more red and green into this section in the middle. I've also used the leaves and made sure that I pointed them outwards, and then I've used one single leaf as a stopper, just as I did at the start. And that's the first half of the bracelet done. The next part that I move on to will be slightly more chunky, and I'm going to go through that with you. The easiest thing to do is to lay the bracelet away from you and to have your 3 strands out in front of you as well. What you need to do is work out exactly how many things are going to go into the section. So what I want to include this time is my hematite ring and 2 of these leaves. And then in the final section of the middle, I want to use one of these long beads. Then, with the other things that I've got remaining, I want to make sure that I build up the other sections. So I have a gold leaf and some red parts. I've got lots of these little seed beads, and those will be the ones that go in between. I have those in gold and in brown, in green and in red. And I also have varying colours and shapes and sizes of beads as well. So the next thing to do is to build up the sections. We will put this one to one side and we will build up what we've got remaining here. You don't want too many of the same bead in the same section. As you can see, I used 2 of these pea sort of shaped ones in this section here, so I will be saving those for the last section, so I will leave those there. As you're getting towards the end, it does get more difficult. At first you can be really creative, but then you need to make sure that you're not duplicating any sections to make it look a bit more unique. So what I do have are 2 of these round beads that are trying to roll away. I also have a red leaf that I might use on the next section as another stopgap right at the end. I have an orange bead that I can use here, and then we will save my large leaf, the pea and the other glass bead, and do a similar thing to what we did there at the other end, at this end, in this next section here. I have got quite a few red beads, but again I just used 3 in this section, so I want to make sure that I don't duplicate. In my stacker here I have quite a few autumnal colours, so what I'm going to do is incorporate a little bit more gold into this section. Those gold beads will go beautifully with the gold leaf and the red ones there. A couple of these burnt orange colours will also go beautifully against the darkness of the hematite. So to build this up now, you choose which strand you want to do first. This piece is the middle section, so I'm going to use the left hand side to begin with, and this side is orange and green. So I'm first of all going to place a green and then orange seed bead. Once those are slid on into place, you can push your larger beads on. I'm going to use another orange seed bead to break up this section, and then place the larger orange bead on, and that will be the centre of that little line there. I probably make this look easy, but it is years of practice. And what you want to do is just be symmetrical. And I started off with a tiny brown bead, and there you have a little section done. So onto the right hand side now, and we're going to incorporate these golden seed beads on this side, she says as she drops them. The seed beads, like I said earlier, are the most difficult to get on because they're rather small. They only just fit with this size of elastic. Okay, so that one's on. And then we have the red one. Another gold. And then the yellow gold leaf. Another seed bead, then another red bead, another gold, and finally the copper colour to finish that section. So we have two. This third and final one, we need a grey coloured bead to match the hematite. You don't want to use silver because silver against the gold is going to make it a little bit too garish, I think. You want to use sort of dark and subtle colours. These leaves are lengthway as opposed to the ones that sit outwards. These ones go all the way through from tip to start. And what we want to do is put a bead in between those. And then we have our last grey bead to go on the end. I think we need another grey kind of colour, so I'm going to pop a couple of those out of my jar. If I've judged this correctly, they should be all the same length, and then we'll be able to slide the stopper bead on. And remember, if you make a mistake or you don't like it, you can just slide them all off and start again. Although this has probably taken me now around probably about an hour to work this out now. Also, if you have a bead like this hematite one, you might not want to thread it all the way through without any beads on, because people can see the elastic. So the best thing to do there is to have it go through the first section and then fill it with some beads. So what I'm going to do is I can do I think I can fit 4 in there, I think. Maybe 3. We want to use some of the colours that we've already had, so I'm hoping I can fit 2 of those burnt orange colour in there. Just grab a few more of those. So what we're going to do is just slide these ones on. It'll all become clear in a moment when I show you. Okay, so we should be able to slide those in, and they should be able to sit just inside the hematite ring. Tricky part now is the attempting of getting this back into the hole that it's supposed to be going through when you do it straight. The good thing with elastic though, it's very manipulative. Although harder than it looks. What you don't want as well is to tip it up too much, because you might lose the beads that you've already got on the other sections. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video for a second, get this through because it might take me a couple of minutes, and then I'll bring it back to you. So finally I did it, and here it is. I'm hoping you can see that. Those beads that I put through, the seed beads, they are sitting in the middle. You can't see any of the elastic. That's the other side. We have red and the gold leaf, hematite and the purple leaf, and that is the third section of the bracelet done. Now on to the fourth section, and it's mostly red. I have got quite a few red and green bits, so I'm going to incorporate some more of the burnt orange and other bits of gold. And hopefully, when I come back to you in just a moment, I will have finished that fourth section, and then we can look at finishing the bracelet off. So that's the main part of the bracelet now finished. As you can see, we've got the 4 sections, and we are left with a little bit at the end. And this is what we're going to use to make sure that we tie the bracelet together. It will be quite difficult, and what we're going to incorporate as well is a rather large bead, which is this one, and that will, because of the length of it, will hide any knots and any crimp beads that we're going to use in order to hold everything together. I have some crimp beads here. It will need to be a small one so that it will still fit through there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set all that up on the bracelet. I'm also going to put a crimp bead on the end here and make sure that that is all secure. I should be able to fit one of these beads over the top to make sure that that's all hidden as well. So I've gone and raided my bead box for a few extra beads. I've got some orange, some sort of burnt yellow kind of colour, and various shades of green, including this beautiful little green heart, which I think will really brighten up this end of the bracelet. What I need to do now is just to lay them all out and decide exactly where they're going to go in this bracelet for this section. Gold and red obviously goes really well together, and green and red go really well together, but I want to make sure that I incorporate at least one of the leaves, if possible two, and I need to make sure that I have a rather large bead at the end, and that is to make sure that when we do the clasp at the end, and make sure that we have enough room for that. So let's get to it. So here is my finished bracelet. I managed to complete this. As you saw just then, I was going to put a crimp bead on, which I have done, and I've also put a very large bead there on the end, which we will thread these back through. Just so I can show you there, there's the crimp bead, and that means that nothing is going anywhere on the bracelet. I'm really pleased with how it looks. I hope you guys like it as well. If I remember where I got some of the beads and things from, I will make a list as I put the post up on the blog. And I really hope that you have enjoyed this video on how to make your own autumnal looking bracelet. This is of course a triple one. If you didn't want to do something this extravagant, you can just do a single thread of elastic, and you can use a clasp or crimp beads. Because this is elasticated, it obviously just goes over your wrist. And I'm really happy with the finished result. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope you have enjoyed it, and if you have, do let me know in the comments below, and who knows, I might do some more in the future.